Hello everyone, welcome back. And in this video, I'll be showing you how to build an end-to-end modular AI agent chatbot using LangChain, FastAPI, and Streamlit, and integrated with Groq, OpenAI, and Tavily, which is an web search API. Okay, so before see the components and the architecture of the application, let us see the demo of it. So here you could see in the left sidebar we have the agent configuration options. So we have model provider, like which model you want to use, Groq, OpenAI. You might add any other model if you want, like Gemini or Mistral if you want. Then we have the models names, like which are the models we have. We have GPT-4o mini and LLaMA 370 billion 8192 models. Okay, and we have a system prompt. Here you can kind of guide your agent that to act like this. Okay, and we have a checkbox to enable the web search tool. Okay, a simple configuration aspect that will help you to build and understand how to build this kind of AI agent chatbot. So first, let's try some query without the web search tool. Okay, and I'm keeping it as the default system prompt, as act as an AI chatbot who is smart and friendly. Okay, so hello, how are you? If I write this, okay, hello there, I'm doing fantastically well. Okay, so let's ask it some question. So let's say I'll be having a SQL within 2 days. How should I prepare? So let's see what it would give me. So all right, it has given me some option that how I should prepare from a SQL interview, all this kind of thing, review SQL basics, all those things. Okay, so it could be pretty friendly for your personal use, and also it would be an end-to-end application, so it would be pretty helpful for your resume as well. All right, so now let us use with the web search tool. Okay, so let's say who have won 2022 Football World Cup. Sorry for my grammar. Just Argentina won the 2022 FIFA World Cup. All right. So then, now let's see how the components of this application work together. Okay. So in the left side we are having our all the faces, like our project layout, and in the right side we have the architecture of it. Okay, so first see the project layout. Okay, all right, so here you could see that our project is divided into 3 key layers. Okay, the first phase AI agent layer, second phase our backend layer, third phase our frontend layer. Simple. All right. Now for the first layer, for the first phase, here we support multiple model providers. As you have seen in the demo, we provide Groq with LLaMA 3 and OpenAI with GPT-4o mini. And this particular file, this LLM underscore provider.py, this particular file is responsible for initializing the selected LLM based on the front-end user's choices. Okay, then we have to add our tools.py, and these optional tools like Tavily Search. You might also use DuckDuckGo search as per your wish, and this allows the agent to fetch real-time web result to answer question better. Okay, and then comes to creating our agent, and this is where we use LangGraph to create a React based agent. Okay, and this agent is initialized with the chosen LLM and tools as per our previous files, and it receives the chat history and returns the AI's final responses. All right, now we go to our second phase. Here the backend acts as the middle layer between the front end and the AI logic. Config.py loads environment variables from our .env file with all our API keys. Okay, And our model.py defines pydantic models to validate request and response. Okay, so and this kind of ensures that only clean, neat, and a valid data should flow through our front end to backend. All right, and then we'll come into our API endpoint logic with our file name router.py, and this contains this slash chat endpoint, and it receives the post request from the front end, and it calls the AI agent and it returns the response to our front end. Okay, and then we'll be having our main.py, and this file is to run our backend server, which is the main entry point for our backend server. Okay, and it initializes our FastAPI app, and to run this command you could see we have unique uvcon main used to app. Okay, now after having our AI agent and our backend, we'll be having our front end with streamlit underscore app.py, where Streamlit provides a clean interactive front-end view where we can easily choose the LLM provider, we can select model, we can enter a system prompt, we can toggle web search. Okay, and this file sends the data to the FastAPI endpoint and renders the responses for it. All right, so that's being said, now let's see the architecture and they will directly jump into the coding. Okay, now let me just give you the basic understanding how the workflow of it. So on the left here, you could see on the left we have the user interacting with the Streamlit. Okay, then in the middle you could see that here we have the FastAPI backend which receives the query, and then it loads the right LLM and tools. You could see we have two type of LLM here, Groq and OpenAI, and we also have an optional tools, Tavily. Okay, and using this LLM layer and this tools layer, it creates this agent. Okay, then on the right you could see the AI agent queries the LLM, optionally invokes this Tavily search and processes the final output in this AI agent.py, and then which is sent back to our front end. Okay, so that's the complete architecture of our end-to-end AI agent chatbot system. Some of the key features that I would mention, that I have make it completely modular and scalable and fully customizable. You can easily customize each of the module as per your wish. Okay, so now let's get to the code. Okay, all right, so now we'll be creating a new folder in this environment of mine. So mkdir, so kdir, let's say Agentic AI Chatbot. All right, now we'll get into it. Agentic AI Chatbot. All right, now we'll be needing we need to activate our virtual environment, right? So for that, let's say Agentic AI. Here let me create a new file as readme.md. Okay, so the first step would be for you to create a virtual environment. So create a VNV using this command python -m venv my env. All right, after that we need to activate our virtual environment, and to do that my env /scripts/ activate. I already have a MyEnv environment in this ID. Okay, so I'll just activate that environment. So my env, before I need to get back, my env /scripts/ activate. Then I'll again get into my agentic chatbot. Okay, I'll save it. Now we need to create our requirement.txt. Okay, now what are the packages that we need to be installed to do this project, right? So first is, of course, we need our Streamlit. Second is LangChain. Third would be LangChain, I guess, community, and fourth would be LangChain Groq, as we are using the LangChain Groq. Okay, and then LangChain OpenAI, as will, like, you might also need to use OpenAI. Okay, then last would be python.env. all right, so we'll be needing these 6 packages to be installed. Okay, so to install them, what we need to do, pip install -r requirements.txt. okay, you need to run this command in your command prompt to install all these packages. Okay, now I have installed all those packages, so I won't be showing that, because and it's gonna take some more time to install and set up properly. Okay, now after this 3 part, we need to add our .env file. So /.env. Here we need to add our all API keys. So we are using OpenAI API key, Groq API key, and our Tavily API key, right? So I'll be just pasting all of my API key. Now I won't be using OpenAI, as it will be a paid one, and I don't want to show you which is not free. Okay, if you have OpenAI's paid API key, use it. You just need to use this OpenAI API key and put your API key over here. Okay, and to get Groq API and Tavily API, let me show you how you can get them. You can just simply search Groq Cloud. You could see in this Groq Cloud, in this API key section, you'll be having your all API keys. You can have it. And then for the Tavily, I have bookmarked my Tavily. So Tavily AI. Okay, so in this Tavily, you can also have your API key for your Tavily web search keys. Okay, so we'll minimize it. And now after we have setting up our environment, our .env file, and our requirement.txt, now we need to configure this API key. So as I have explained earlier, that we will be dividing the whole project into multiple phases. So the first phase consists of our AI agent, right? So first let us create those folders. Okay, so one folder would be of agents, sorry, not in caps, agents. Another folder, not under this, in this folder, you have to create the app where we'll be having our FastAPI backend, and another one to have our Frontend Streamlit UI. Okay, now first let us configure our add this API keys to our project. So here in this app folder, we'll be creating a file config.py. Alright, and here we load our API keys. So from Python alright, so from .env I need to import load.env. Then simply I need to call this function load.env. Okay, and then I also need to import OS. So import OS. Okay, then load.env function, and this will load your API keys from your .env files. Okay, now we are using Groq API key like this, then os dot get env and our API key name, which is Groq API key. Okay, then we'll copy this and we'll paste it two times, and here we'll change it to OpenAI, also this one OpenAI, and it will be changed into Tavily API key. Okay, Tavily API key. We'll save it. Now after that we'll begin writing our agents configurations. Okay, so in agent file we'll first create the part of our LLM provider. Okay, so LLM, not again in caps, so LLM provider.py. Okay, and here we need to call our chat OpenAI from our LangChain Groq and LangChain OpenAI to kind of create the function that would fetch the response from our LLM. Okay, so from LangChain Groq, I will import chat Groq. Then from LangChain, you could see OpenAI, I'll use chat OpenAI. Then as I have configured my API keys into this config.py file, so from app.config I need to import those API keys, so Groq API key and OpenAI API key. Okay, now we need to create the function that will handle our LLM response. So let's say get LLM. Here we will pass two arguments. One would be the provider, one would be the model that I'm providing, like which model I'll be using. Okay, and Groq Cloud supports lots of LLaMA model, lots of OpenAI, like lots of Mistral model, so it's up to you, right? So def get LLM. If the provider here we have two providers, one is Groq and one is OpenAI, and under Groq we have Mistral and our LLaMA model. Okay, so if provider is Groq, okay, then if we don't have the Groq API key, so if not Groq API key, we have to raise a value error. Again, we have to raise a value error, so value error of that Groq API key not found. Okay, and if we don't got an error, simply we need to return chat Groq, where we'll be passing our model name and our API key, which is that Groq API. Okay, after that we'll be using elif to check if the user want to use OpenAI, right? So provider is if OpenAI, and okay, it will be a double is equals to, so for that if not OpenAI API key, we'll have to raise a value error. Let's say not found. Okay, then simply we'll be returning our chat OpenAI with model and our API key, which is in this case OpenAI. There is showing an error. No, not anymore. So OpenAI. All right. And again, finish it with an else statement. We'll check it. Key else raise value error. Unknown provider. Like if you use somehow some other like Gemini or anything else, that will give you another error that you are using an unknown provider. So unknown provider. All right, so now my LLM provider.py is done. Now I need to create the tools that this LLM provider will use, because we have to enable our web search. So for that we'll be creating a tools.py, and the reason I am using this in a modular way, so that if you want to use any other tools, because there are DuckDuckGo or any other web search tool, or you want to configure your tools in any different manner, you can easily modify this tools.py file and some other configuration in the other files as well. Okay, so in this tools.py I'll be importing my Tavily Search. Okay, so from LangChain, and I'll be having that from LangChain community dot tools dot I had to call Tavily Search. There we have to import Tavily Search results. All right, then simply create the function. Let's say get tools, where as it will be a checking function that if you want to use the tool, you need to check a box. So the passing argument will be a boolean function. Okay, like an boolean value, not function. So enable bool, then under this simply return Tavily Search all the results, and the max similarity, Tavily Search results with the max results would be around 2. Okay, and after that if enable else, it will be a empty array, empty list. Okay, we'll save it. Now after that we need to create our React agent. Okay, we have our LLM provider, so now we have our tools. Now we have to create the agent that will use this LLM provider and this tool as per your query, right? So here we'll create this file as, let's say I'll name it what, AI agents.py. all right, now we need to import again. So from LangChain, let's say from pre-build, I need to import create React agent. So okay, there is an error. So LangChain, it won't be .langchain, unless it will be LangChain dot pre-build. LangChain, I think there is an error I'm having. So problem 1, LangChain pre-build could not be resolved. LangChain, I think it's gonna be LangGraph. Yes, it's have to be LangGraph.prebuild. We need to import our create React agent. Okay, create React agent. Now from LangChain core dot messages, we need to import system message, human message, of course AI message. Okay, then as we need to use LLM provider, so from agents.llm provider, we need to use our get LLM. From agents.tools, we need to use our tools, which is get tools. Right now we need to create this agent which will take the response from our LLM as per our requirement. So def get response from, let's say, AI agent. Okay, and we need to pass couple of argument in here. So the number one would be the LLM ID. All right, second would be that do you want to allow the search and the query. So you want to pass the query, then if you want to like allow the search or not, so allow the web search, then you have to give the system prompt, then the name of the provider. Okay, this 5 things. Now get response from AI agent. The first thing is we need to have our LLM. So LLM would be to call our LLM, get LLM function, pass provider and LLM ID. Okay, then tools, again get tools, simply pass allow search. Okay, now we need to use here, we need to build the agent where like whom will pass our system message. Okay, so let's create an agent. Let's create this agent will be using create React agent. All right, under this we need to pass our model, which is LLM, and our tools, which is tools. Okay, now we need to have the conversation history. We need to build the conversation history, and for that we need to use our state. So to build the conversation history, to build conversation history, right, you need to define a state here. Let's say we have a message with two type of message. One would be our system message, which will contain this our system prompt, and our human message. Okay, I need to give a comma over here. Human message, which will consist of our that query given by the user. So query, let's say as one, to kind of get the latest input. Okay, not the previous one or the latter. We get our state. Now we need to have our response. So to get the response here, we'll use invoke function to agent dot invoke. We'll invoke our state, and to get those messages in this message variable, we'll store response dot get messages or an empty list. Okay, it will be a comma. All right, after that the AI messages will be msg dot content for message in my messages if my is instance with message and AI message. Okay, now in this line I am generating the response given by the LLM and I'm showing that to my user interface. Okay, so AI messages in that message dot content for message in every messages if each instance is message and my AI message. Okay, after that I'll simply return AI messages of -1 to get the latest one every time. If my AI messages and else no response from AI. All right, that's being said, we are done with our creating agent. Now we need to create our backend to handle this response and to fetch those response into our front-end interface. Okay, all right, so we have done with our phase 1, and in our phase 2 we had 3 files to cover up. One was the config.py, which we have already done, and 2 more was our route.py and our model.py. Okay, so now let's gather our model.py, and this model.py will be done with Agentic AI, and this would help us to understand, to explain our application, that in which structure, like in which schema I'll be expecting those, like my LLM would expect those messages in which structure. Okay, like what are the argument that I'll be passing. So let me just show you. Okay, so it will be model.py here. As I said, from Pydantic I need to import a base model, then from typing need to import list. Okay, then I'll be creating a class of, let's say, request state, in which state I'll be providing argument to my base model. So base model here, as like in this AI agent.py you could see that we have provided this many arguments, right? LLM ID, query, allow search, system prompt, and provider. So we need to define all of these values in this model.py. So in the model.py I'll come here and say it's a model /name, which will be a kind of a string, right? Then let's say model provider, which will also be a form of a string. Then system prompt, which again will be a string. Then messages, which will be in a form of list with string. All right, then the last one was to allow search, which is indeed bool. So this would be our model structure. Okay, I'll save it. Now we need to create our route.py for our backend API endpoint. So route.py, as we are using FastAPI, which is a Python backend framework to test your API, to build your API and to export your API and to test your API as well. So you should study more about FastAPI, as and I'm also thinking to build a different video to build much more project on fast APIs and to how to deploy a fast API. Okay, so in this video, fast API, from fast API will be importing my API router. So API router, then from my app.models, my app.model, right, model, I need to import the request state, of course. Then from agents dot the AI agents, I need to import get response from AI agent, right? Now I need to initialize my router. So router would be API router function. Okay, now I need to define which are the models that I'll be allowing. So Groq allows lots of models. I'll be showing you. Wait. So allowed models names, right? Now let me just show you which are the model that it allows. So you can come in Groq Cloud. If you come in this playground, you could see each has these various type of models, but you can't use I don't think you can use everyone, as I mainly try this LLaMA 3.37db versatile, this LLaMA 370b 8192. What I really feel ki you should use this LLaMA 370b, which is absolutely free. Okay, and yeah, and that's why we'll be using this one. So let's do that. LLaMA 370b 8192. So we'll come here. Here we'll say LLaMA 370b 8192. Okay, and as we are also showing you how to use OpenAI model as well. So if you want to use GPT's any API keys, so you need to also provide the model that you'll be using. So let's say for an example, I'm saying ki GPT-4o mini. Okay, so here you can easily extend any more model that you might want to use in this list. Allowed model names. After that, we'll be using this router post, router dot post, where our API endpoint will be /chat. Okay, now let me create a function def chat endpoint. Right here we'll pass a request. With this request will be this request state. Okay, now here we'll write key if the request dot model name, the model name not in allowed model names, then you should see some error. Return, let's say error. I'm going to show that invalid model name. Okay, now let's say you are giving the proper model. Now what you should get a response where you need to call the get response from AI agent function. Here you simply need to provide, as you know, you have seen here, we are passing these 5 parameters. So you need to pass these 5 parameters from here. So LLM ID would be that request dot model name. So model name. Then we have query. So query would be simply request dot messages. Okay, then if you want to allow search, then simply request dot allow search. For the system prompt, request dot system prompt, and your model provider would be again request dot, sorry, not this one, model underscore provider. All right, and after that you simply need to return the response. Okay, and there you go, you are done with your backend route. Now we need to create the front end and to create our app's entry point, our main.py that will initialize this backend. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so now we'll create the frontend app.py where we'll be creating the UI in our Streamlit. Okay, so first we need to import Streamlit. So import Streamlit as st and we need to import requests, right? Then for some basic thing that we do every time, set page config. So set page config, let's say page title, then chatbot, and layout would be centered. Then st dot title, and here we'll say agent chatbot, right? Then st dot markdown, and here we'll provide, let's say, chat with multiple models with web search. All right, so just some basic setup. Now let me just run this Streamlit app. So Streamlit run, as this app.py file is under my frontend folder, so frontend / app.py. Okay, so AI agent chatbot, we have it. Okay, now we'll simply as we'll be like arranging those how to select the models, how to select providers, and how to allowing the web search, all those configuration will be keeping it as in our sidebar. So for that, with st dot sidebar, here st dot header, configuration. Okay, then we are providing 5 parameters, so we have to provide 4 over here. So model underscore provider, and as we will be using select box, so select box model provider with Groq OpenAI. All right, now you also need to provide model name. So model name, again st dot select box model name, it will be under quotation, model name with, if I just come to my route, I'll copy these two model names and I'll paste it over here. Okay, so my model name is done. Now after that I need to provide the system prompt. So system prompt is the prompt to guiding our AI agent key act like this. It's like act like an farming agent, or act like a medical assistant, or act like an smart assistant, like this. Okay, so select box. No, system prompt would be different. So system prompt would be an text area. So text area, okay, where I'll name it as system value. Let's say, let me just do a basic default value. Okay, so act as an personal smart assistant, right? Simple. And then, as you might give some long description, like long system prompt, so I'll be keeping the text area as 100. Okay, so my configuration is done. After that, okay, one more is left for the allow search. So allow search, it will be a checkbox, right? So ht dot checkbox enable web search tool. Value would be true. Okay, all right, now our sidebar section is done. We'll save it and we'll check it over here, and you could see we have our AI agent chatbot, we have Groq, our model names, and our system prompt, and our default. Okay, by default it is in web search tool. It is, yes, in by default, but I don't want that. So I want key, it should be false in by default. Okay, all right, so now to kind of capture each and every user query or each and every AI response, to keep it on the interface, we need to initialize a session state for our chat history, right? So session state for chat history. Okay, now how to do that? If chat history not in ht dot session state, okay, mean if there is no chat history, so we have to initialize one. So ht dot session state dot chat history will initialize with an empty list. Okay, now after the initialization, we need to make sure that we display each and every chat. So display chat history. All right, so here we'll be providing role, means role. Here we have two types of roles. One is the user message and one is the response from our AI. Okay, so role, and we are sending the messages. So message. So for role and message, in ht dot session state dot chat history. Okay, chat history, if role is for user, then with ht dot chat message with the name of user, with user. So user, I'll show the markdown, and here I'll show the query or the prompt given by the user. Okay, so I just simply write msg message, done. And if then else with ht dot session state, session state with chat message here with AI ht dot markdown would be msg again. All right, so we are initialized our session history, our session state for our chat history. We are displaying our chat history every time. Now the final part is we need to handle user input. Okay, so first we need to take the user query. So let's create a variable user query. Here we'll use ht dot, we'll be using chat input. Okay, chat input, let's say type your query, this like this. Okay, now if we have a user query like this, then we first need to display that user query first. Okay, so with ht dot chat message user ht dot markdown, here will provide that user query, user query. Okay, and one thing we have to do again, that after user is giving its query, we need to add that into my session history, into my chat history. So a session state chat history, we'll be using append function to append each and every message. Okay, so user query. All right, good. Now we have our user query, we need to send this query to our backend for the processing to get the LLM response. So send request to backend. All right, here with ht dot chat message AI, let me show a spinner. With spinner says key it's thinking. Here I'll be using a try catch block, a try except block. Try, then exception as z. Okay, and here I'll show an error. Let's say ht dot error e. All right, now I need to create my try block. So let's say now here comes the concept of payload, because as you could see in our model, we have defined this request state. So we will be sending this 5 data to our backend. So we'll be taking that under our payload. Okay, so payload would be consist of these 5 parameters, right? So number 1 would be my model name, which is model name. Then we have model provider, right? And this model provider would be model provider. Okay, then we have our system message. So system prompt, system prompt, which would be system prompt, of course. Then we have to pass our messages, and it will be the user query, and then last our allow search and this will be in a form of boolean, so allow search. Alright, so we have defined our payload. Now we need to take the input. So let's say in res we are requesting it, so requests dot post, and we need to define the URL where our backend would be running, and it would be in localhost 8000, and the endpoint, as we have written earlier, /chat. Then JSON would be payload. Okay, now after we are sending the request to res, then I need to JSONify the response. So response would be res.json. Okay, so now the response is in my response variable. Now ht.markdown, I'll be simply provide the response over here. Okay, and last ht.session state, I need to append this as well. History append, I'll use this, and my response. All right, my front end is done. Now let me just check it. All right, okay, now let us create our backend entry point, which should be under this root folder. File name as main.py. Okay, and this main.py from FastAPI, we need to import FastAPI, and from app.router we have written route. So from app.route I'll be importing my router that we have defined. Okay, router, and then app, let me initialize the FastAPI. Title would be chatbot. Then I need to include app.include router, my router. Okay, then to initialize it, if name main, this here I need to import uvcon, and this uvcon will help us to run our FastAPI application, and it will also help you to deploy your FastAPI application. Okay, so uvcon dot run, have main/app, we have host. Now that this host would be my localhost, right? So localhost is 127.0.0.1. then we have to configure our port, would be 9999, and to reload I'll make it true. Okay, now my application is done. All right, so let us now see our application if it's running or not properly. So we have our model provider Groq, model name LLaMA 3, act as an AI chatbot who is smart and friendly. All right, so enable web search tool, it is, then let me enable it. All right, hello, enter. You could see, hi, it's nice to meet you. Now if I just change it, let's say act as an assistant. Okay, now hey, how are you? All right, now let us ask it some question about some health issue. So what are the remedies for diabetes, right? Okay, the spelling is wrong. You could see the effective home remedies to manage blood sugar and level include fenugreek seeds, apple cider vinegar, barley chromium something. Okay, so it will give you some response as per your system prompt and how you want to manage your AI agent. All right, so yeah, and thanks for watching, and see you in the next video, and I'll be providing you all this code in my GitHub link. Okay.